and and they don't have time to reinvent their offense. They could put a couple of wrinkles here and there. You'd love to think that they would give George more opportunities, and I do believe there is something to what was said this week, and not because George said what he said, but before George talked, we heard from Eddie Faulkner, and he seemed pretty definitive that they were going to get the ball downfield, and he called out his quarterbacks. Like, our quarterbacks need to throw him the ball. That's the first time I'd really heard that specifically. So I think we are going to see that, and I think we could pray that they give Jaylen Warren some more opportunities to make some plays, because as much as Najee can move the ball a bit, and he's not a horrible NFL back, he's not the guy that's going to get you a splash play, which you so desperately need.
So all of this said, let's for just a minute move beyond this weekend. And regardless of what happens in the last 4 weeks, and if there is a wild card game to be played or not, who knows? They won't go much beyond that, obviously. What do you think the plan is in the offseason as far as offensive coordinator is concerned? I asked Ray Fittipaldo earlier, and he basically said, yeah, I wouldn't count on Faulkner or Sullivan just getting a promotion here. Do they I would imagine they have to look outside the organization, but do they look for something Shanahan-like? Is it a Clint Kubiak type? Could you see them doing that? Or do we get some guy who just happens to be an older retread? What direction can they go in? What direction should they go in? But ultimately, what do you expect them to do with that in the offseason?
Does Cade Bell have a brother? I mean, I would love to see like what Pitt did and hire a 30-year-old. Like, they're taking a chance. They're rolling the dice on a coordinator that had crazy success at a lower level, but had crazy success, has new ideas, brings some energy. That's what I want to see. I don't think Mike Tomlin and Eddie Faulkner are tight. I don't think Mike has the power to be able to just say, this is my coordinator. They have to look from the outside. And, you've got an Andy Weidel. You've got some different guys in the organization now that I'm sure are going to tell Art, like, hey, and not that Omar doesn't see it either, that we might love Eddie. We might want to retain him as running back coach, or maybe even give him a different role if you feel like you want to, but you can't have him as offensive coordinator. I do think they will scour. I do think, as much as who would have ever thought Pat Narduzzi would hire a 30-year-old coordinator, and he did it because he had to. I don't put it past the Steelers to make a move like that, but here's the catch. You're not going to get a good coordinator with a head coach that has 1 year left on his contract. So if you're bringing back Mike Tomlin, you're bringing back Mike Tomlin with an extension and then hiring that offensive coordinator. If you go into the year with no change in Tomlin's status, meaning he's only got a year left, you're going to get some run-of-the-mill crap coordinator again. You're not going to get what you need. So you either have to make the decision that Mike Tomlin isn't our guy going forward, or that, you know what, much like in the early 2000s when they decided, or late 90s when they decided Bill Cowher was their guy, they're going to have to put their trust in Mike Tomlin that he'll get them out of this, because unless he signs an extension, they're not going to get anyone of consequence to be their offensive coordinator, which they so desperately need.
Wow. So you're of the opinion then that even if they don't win a playoff game this year, which looks increasingly likely will be the scenario if they were to even get there, if they don't win a playoff game this year, they will be staring down what will become the longest stretch, the longest drought without a playoff victory in the franchise's. Are you okay? Have you been run over?
They're not happy about this.
It would be.
I'm standing in the patio of Helltown.
Somebody just laid on their horn.
You're at the threshold of hell.
To park, but as you can imagine, Strip District Friday afternoon, there's 7 people going for the same spot.
Oh, good call. Yeah, so everybody's fighting over parking.
And that's what's happening right now. And I'm watching it. It's like, and I'm watching someone that's just trying to cross the street, and I'm like, dude, when Frogger dies, he is reborn, but you're not going to be.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it.
You're going to be smeared across Smallman Street.
Yes.
You're going to be a smudge. Real quick, yes. So you're of the belief that they would take the longest drought between playoff wins in the franchise's Super Bowl era and give the head coach an extension, not like a token extension of 1 year maybe through 2025, but a legit extension in order to lure a legitimate offensive coordinator in.
What I'll tell you is this: what the Steelers are going to do in the offseason, and while they won't make a decision during the year with head coach, they're going to sit down and take the year as a whole. They'll take their time. They'll get input. There's a lot of logic to doing that. And what they have to decide is, we need to get an offensive mind. We need to get somebody. But in order to get somebody, we have to have stability at head coach. So we either decide Mike isn't our guy anymore, or we've got to give him some type of extension. So he's got at least 3 years on his deal. So you had 2. In order to get somebody of consequence that's going to be, I mean, who would be willing to move their family to come and take on the challenge that is the Steelers offense and not have job security? Because you could say, well, you'll be our guy, but if they bring in another coach, then
you're not his guy.
You're not going to move for 1 year.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's a fair point. It's just, I think it gives a whole new perspective to the idea of what this thing may look like in the offseason, that those who would like to see Mike Tomlin not around much longer will have to they'll have to cope with. They'll have to deal with.
I mean, for those that like, whether it's Kubiak or Darren Bevel or whomever the name is that you love,
mm-hmm.
They're not going to come here for a head coach that's only got 1 more year on his contract. So if you really want to improve the offense, this is why it's not just as easy as, just bring somebody in and let Tomlin coach his last year. Like, no, it's going to be deeper than that. It's going to be a really interesting offseason to see what happens, especially if this team really bombs down the stretch and what the Steelers organization is going to do.
What you're saying makes a ton of sense, Jeff, and I agree with it. The one scenario that I just thought of, though, is what if that offensive coordinator says to himself, all right, even if Mike Tomlin gets canned, can I have a shot at being a head coach here? Like, would that be a part of the thought?
It could be. You would have to trust the organization that, like, for instance, let's say you come in, you're Kubiak, you come in, and you think you've got a shot to be the next head coach. Well, it goes bad next year, and the offense stinks. And it may not be because of your implementation of your system, but it may be because of the personnel. You think you're going to get a shot?
Not likely.
Like that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, all that, and I get what you're saying, Matt. And the Rooneys can promise, like, hey, we're going to bring you in, and we'll tell whoever the next head coach is that you're going to be their offensive coordinator. And that might work on paper, but what if the guy they bring in, this guy can't stand or wants to run a different system, and it now tells us you've got to run this? I mean, it gets really messy once you start making promises. Much like they've got to figure out the quarterback, they've got to figure out what they're doing at head coach. And that has to be done this offseason. You can't just go in and expect to have, major changes. Would there be coaches that would come in even under a 1-year Mike Tomlin? Absolutely. Who wouldn't want to be offensive coordinator in the league? But if you want the right one, you've got to make a bold decision on Mike Tomlin's future.